You're listening to the New Old Heads podcast, shot live every Tuesday at twitch.tv/newoldheads and released every Thursday at noon via bringingdowntheband.com. The show is brought to you by Coleman Dental, Printfinity, Indie CD and Vinyl. Support the show directly by becoming a member at patreon.com/newoldheads.
You're now tuned in to the New Old Heads podcast. I am Major 7th. The brothers are in the building. Starting off with my man Jay Moore. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Once again, you know, we're coming to these dog days of summer, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lots of things going on. The fair.
I went.
You know, people starting school.
Heat.
Yeah.
Heat. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You know, so shout out to everybody who's involved in them 2-a-days, football practice.
Man, it's the season too.
Soccer practice. You know,
Yeah.
shout out to my man Coach T. You know how it go.
My man Lonegevity. How are you, buddy?
Doing all right.
Yeah.
You know what we missed again this year, which we continually do every year when we don't mean to?
I think I know what you're gonna
We
say.
missed Band Day again.
Unless after we go through the rounds, I got a story for you.
Okay.
But you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good to see you, brother. My man DJ Jay Diff. Howdy, man.
Salutations, man.
I'm sorry, I was a little delayed there. Sorry. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I don't get what you're saying though. What were you delayed about?
I said DJ J Diff, but I usually say what's happening, man. But there was a slight delay before my what's happening. You wasn't thinking about that?
I wasn't.
Okay, I'm overthinking
Not
it.
bothered.
So Ice Spice,
Yeah.
fan favorite here.
Oh, great.
Yeah, man.
That's what we're talking
So
about.
excited.
I'm gonna tell you why. Y'all remember the video that I showed you of Jermaine Dupri talking about the requirements or how people felt about selling records, how it was a badge of honor, how you get clowned if you didn't sell X amount of records, how people cared about that. Well, Ice Spice, her first week sales came out on Billboard and it was 28K. So here's my question, because she's had the Taylor Swift, she's had the commercials, she's had the endorsements. It's almost giving you that, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, the 90s going into the 2000s machine behind her type vibe. This is not something where somebody just went viral and then they're going off that. She's been getting exposure. So for her to come out and sell 28K in the first week, what does that actually say? Because a lot of people say, oh, she can't rap. Oh, she can't this. Oh, she can't that. Is there something that's being justified here from a consumer standpoint? Are the consumers telling us something what they're doing 28K?
Yes.
What are you guys pulling from that? Because to me, I thought it'd be way more than that. Based on, here's why. The reason I say that is because I see her everywhere. Mm-hmm. I thought that would correlate in 2024. Maybe I'm tripping.
The festival appearances.
That's what I'm talking about. So that's what I want to ask y'all. What is this telling us? The 28K.
It's telling us that your popularity doesn't actually correlate to people being active listeners of your music.
Okay.
Yep.
You know, because Jermaine Dupri talked about this, and I think it was around the time that her album came out, and like it didn't do crazy numbers.
Similar.
Very similar.
I mean, because I think in this, you know, like I said, I think I had to step away from, like, when I was talking about Doechii, and like I was kind of judging her music unfairly based on what I have to deal with 3 or 4 nights in the club, and I had to step away from that because right now, like I said, Sexy Red runs the clubs, but she can't sell tickets. People don't really, you know, as far as equivalent streaming units that equate to a sale.
Right.
That's not, those numbers aren't great. But because, like, people love her music in the club, but after that, like, they don't want to, that's not how they want to listen and move around in their daily lives. And I think we think about, once again, I'm going to bring this word up that means so many things to so many people, a vibe. You know, that vibe doesn't translate to people actually being active listeners of your music. You know, they may enjoy it when they're out and somebody else is curating that experience for them. You know, they'll watch you shake ass and twerk with no shoes on when you're at one of these festivals. But as far as saying, oh, I'm going to listen to the Ice Spice album and put this on, mind you, it's 10 songs long, and it's somehow still only 29 minutes.
I'm not surprised at the 29 minutes in today's era.
No, me neither.
All the
but
records
at the same,
be like 2 and some change.
But at the same time, like, okay, you're going to jump out the window. This is your look. This is your album debut, if you will. And I think people are interested in her, and like they like looking at her. Like I said, she knows how to look at the camera. She's going to be good for maybe advertising and pushing products. But people aren't interested in music like that. And it's just, you know, you can only, for lack of a better term, shake ass. But for so much, because at the same time, everybody's shaking ass right now. That doesn't make you special. So that's not good. That's not enough engagement for people to say, I'm going to buy her record. You know, I guarantee you, you know, there are other artists who have laid more of a groundwork and actually put a certain level of effort into their music. And I'm sorry, like, because I sat and I was like, okay, maybe, because once again, I listen to all these commercial records. Yeah. Because I'm like, oh, maybe there's something for the club here, you know, because I don't want to be late on something. And it's not much there. There's not much there that it's 10 records I can live without as far as like the club experience is going right now.
All right. What you think, Long? Because I heard you kind of, I guess, agree with his initial thought.
I agree and disagree with Jay.
Okay.
I agree because here's where I think fundamentally, I don't know if this speaks as much about her as it is just the landscape of music. I agree that with everything he's saying about, or that you're saying about her, and there not being a lot there musically and all that other stuff. But I feel like in general, we're seeing this across the board as numbers are just kind of plummeting because just consumers and how we consume stuff now. You know, I would like to see to get a more accurate, you know, representation of kind of what she's up against. Like, I would like to see first numbers for, you know, Sexy Red, and let me see first week numbers for Killer Mike, and let me see first week numbers for all these other people as well.
To see across the board what it looks like.
Right, maybe 29,000 or 28,000. That's good now.
Maybe it's good now. You know what I mean? Okay. So that's because, you know, I don't know. But I do think at the same time, like, she's just somebody that, you know, she's just making records, and I don't really like any of the records. I don't think she's great. I don't think she's horrible.
We're not the target audience.
But exactly.
Not at all.
So like she's not making records for me, so I can only speak on it for so much. You know what I mean?
But you know, even when we talk about like what it is, this is not for me. This is not, you know, perfect. That's a perfect way to kind of put things in perspective. But for who it's for, they're not really responding.
Now that's a good point.
Like,
even if the people that it's for, the target audience is not responding.
These records don't play. Yeah. Like, you know, like the Sexy Red and the JT from City Girls, those records play. Mm-hmm. You know, like these I haven't really heard an Ice Spice record out as far as like, you know, what I'm having to do on Friday and Saturday nights. Really since much, like, and not even that song from the like, she had a look on the Barbie soundtrack with Nicki Minaj. Like, she's got a song with Travis Scott. It's not like she doesn't have these incredible looks. So I don't know. There's a disconnect somewhere, and right now maybe there needs to be a recalibration of people's expectations as far as what these numbers are supposed to look like.
Terry, you said out the gate you weren't surprised. What's your thoughts?
I'm not surprised, but as far as like actually hearing Ice Spice, we have to realize too, we talked about regional sounds last week.
Yep.
These songs might not hit here or in the Midwest, but there's, you know what I'm saying, how many more? There's 49 other states that these songs might hit in.
Yeah, that's true.
And might do different. I mean, there's a whole East Coast that are looking to somebody to embrace for a sound, and we just listened to the guy before in the video who has a similar song or sound that Ice Spice does. Mm-hmm. I just think personally that as far as record sales are not the end all be all of these artists anymore. It's just not. Yeah. And the whole reason that her album is so short, 10 songs, you said 30 minutes, somewhere under 30 minutes, is because it's to get in and get out. Their whole point is to try to make something that's going to be catchy, that's going to pick up on one of these social media platforms. Because social media is literally breaking people.
I think that's another piece of this, because you can monetize your social media now. So like if she's got 10 records and she gets on here and she twerks on one of these records and then it gets 1 million views and then she twerks on it again with a different video, it's just kind of the same as streaming money, but it's
just a different platform.
It's being calculated differently, you know. So
I think there's a method.
It's an attention thing more for her than it is like album sales. I think.
And then when she's on these tours or festivals, it's a group of people doing the exact same formula. So I might not have came here just to see Ice Spice, but I want to hear her perform this verse on this song and maybe another song. Okay, let's move on and hear the next artist that has 2 or 3 songs that I'm familiar with. It's literally the same formula for everybody that's trying to come up in the ranks and are very popular online. There hasn't been a mega star come out I would probably say in the past.
What, since Bruno Mars? When was the last biggest? I mean, I don't even know. Cardi B.
I don't know. Cardi B was struggling for a while. She still hasn't dropped her album yet.
Yeah,
she dropped a single. It's not doing the greatest. Again, that's here though. I don't know what it's doing.
Right, for sure.
In other regions,
I forgot about it music wise.
We focus more so on numbers because we came from
come from the sound scaring era.
You know, we come from that era of people were dropping an album and you're selling platinum the first weekend that it's out. The tides have turned now, so those album sales don't necessarily factor into, I think, how popular this artist is.
I don't think I agree with you. I don't think they really have as much of a cultural impact from a social media standpoint.
So is it fair to say that, and this is just based off what I'm taking from what everyone is saying, is you can make a case that social media and presence and all that it just is better or supersedes anything in terms of record sales?
I just think
more important. Is one more important, or are they more hand in hand?
I think artists such as Ice Spice look at this more so like the Spotify CEO does in the sense that it's content. You know, it's a content piece. The music is a content piece that she utilizes as opposed to really caring about record sale numbers. Plus, that's literally just where the record industry is right now. Nobody's doing a million.
Nobody's doing crazy
Other
numbers.
Than Taylor Swift, it's Taylor Swift and everybody else.
Yeah, you have to realize too that people aren't pressing up copies like they used to.
Yeah.
So if she sells 28,000 records, there was no money put into making this jewel case and this pamphlet that goes into the CD, the actual pressing of the CD. There wasn't a photo shoot that went together that has to be printed either. All she's doing is putting it out. If people buy it,
download it.
Yeah, I mean, stuff is already paid for as far as like production and features and things like that. But I mean, the bottom line is just to get it out there and let's figure out what we can do with it.
Right.
Without just having to focus on let's sell this album. That's not the main. I don't think people even care about if their album sells anymore. It's almost like they care about if one or two of these songs take off, we're good, and we can pretty much make our money back that way off these couple of songs. We can get some advertising money.
We could get a brand deal.
Appearance here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It all factors in from the outside of the actual selling of that record.
Even with the article too, there were like some comments that were posted from some of her core fans or whatever. I'm not sure what her fan base is called, but it's something equivalent to like
the Icies.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
Slushies,
the Spices.
I like slushies better than I like slushies better than ices.
Shout out to all the slushies out there.
Yeah, but the comments were very encouraging. It's okay. It's your first time. Don't worry about it. But it kind of speaks to what Terry is talking about in terms of, and what actually you've all alluded to, is that there's been a change. The consumers are like, don't worry about it. Don't trip. You still popping here. You still popping there. Like those were some of the comments that were as she was responding to her slushies on X or Twitter or whatever the hell. I'm getting on. Go ahead.
Like we was talking about. We had the conversation about Lil Brother a while ago.
Yeah.
About how their release was considered a flop.
Yeah.
And I want to say it was like 200,000 maybe.
Yeah, you talking about the minstrel show?
Yeah,
on Atlanta.
That was considered a flop.
That's when people
back then
doing 5 and 6.
Yes, they're doing that out the gate.
Could you imagine that 200 now? How it's gonna hit?
Man, they would be the number one selling artist right now, essentially.
You know, when you talk about this 20, because this is where I actually shot.
No, actually, only 18,000 copies.
18,000.
18,000?
Yeah, that was rough.
Now that's different. That's rough.
In 2010, that's rough.
That's rough. That's
so it said, what did it say, Long?
Sold slightly more than 100,000 copies. Okay.
As of 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is kind of bad. Yeah, that's bad. Okay. We love Lil Brother, but I'm just saying. I bought it, so I'm one of them. I bought
exactly. Me, I have hard copies of all Lil Brother's albums.
That's wild. 18. That is a flop,
bro. We're one of the 18s. I'm assuming all of us cop. I cop.
This is why our show has so low viewership.
We just like Lil Brother. Y'all mess with us in real life, but the numbers don't really.
Yeah,
that's wild.
But this is the thing. You know, now it doesn't matter what my first week numbers are. And this is I said I alluded. I was trying to shoot, of all things, with Sexy Red a little bit of bail, because I said, well, what are her?
She doesn't deserve bail.
You tried to shoot her a little bail though, bro.
Because I said, well, what are her Polestar numbers? Was it looking like as far as her appearances? But then come be a couple months later, and they try to do an arena tour, or not a stadium tour, or whatever, and people were like, nah, we're not going to pay for that.
That's because they can go see him at the club. So you can come do an appearance at the club. Yeah. I can hear your 2 songs that I really enjoy, and then party and pay $20 to get in.
Jay Moore
versus me paying $90 to come see you in concert, and then got to buy drinks at the concert venue. The beer costs $20 to have a drink.
It's a lot cheaper. $15.
It's a lot cheaper for you to come in my city and me see you at the club, because I know you're going to do club.
But Jay Moore's going to bring a sparkling bottle.
No, I'm not. But this is the thing. But see, like people talked about Meg's first week sales. Yeah. But when it was time to sell some tickets, people were willing to see Meg. They spend money to see, she's doing a stadium tour right now.
Meg is a controversial artist, so to speak. I mean, she just had a whole court tour. I mean, not court tour, but a court situation with
Tory Lanez
that has garnered them a TV show on HBO.
Shouts to the plug for us.
There you go.
Thank you.
Because we're in it.
Yeah.
We're definitely in it.
It also garnered her more attention on social media because she's in the news. So she's feeding the machine more stuff that makes people feel like I'm more connected to this person.
But this is when we're talking about like music industry numbers.
Yeah.
People are like, okay, well, her songs aren't popping like they used to. It used to be you couldn't get away from Meg songs in the club or on the radio, and like right now, it's really kind of hit and miss. But it's a difference between what people will pay for, and plus, but now mind you, Meg has a longer track record. She's got the Grammy nom. She's got the association with Rock Nation. I think that the people who were running Sexy Red's situation, they saw how hot she is as far as her songs just ring off. Like, you could do a whole Sexy Red in the set right now, and nobody's going to say anything.
Like Glorilla's better though.
But Glorilla's she's got that heat too. Now, mind you, Glorilla and Meg are on tour together. I think that's
a good look.
There's many people there to see Glorilla because her songs are hotter right now.
Curbin.
But what you're talking about are people who have a bit more of a track record, and you can put together a tour like that. With Sexy Red, you'd have to put somebody on tour. They just thought they could throw her in there, and 15,000 people were going to come see her.
Nah,
and it doesn't work like that.
Her best bet is to tour with Drake, since her and Drake are such good friends now.
Yeah,
her best bet is to open up for Drake in order for her to be able to go on tour. But she's not a tour headliner. She's just not that person.
She's not a music artist. None of these people are music artists to me. And
that's the general consensus.
And I know that's controversial. To an extent, it's controversial. But
I agree with him.
But the reason why I say this is because the Hawk Tour girl has made over $1 million from appearances.
That tells you a lot. That tells you a lot about today's culture.
I feel my point is this. I feel like Ice Spice, yes, she happens to make music. You know what I mean? Sexy Red happens to make music, but these are content creators.
These are famous.
This is not
I'm not mad
music.
at you. I'm not mad at you for that long.
So like what we've been saying.
So like when we're arguing, like when we talk about like Little Brother sold 18,000 in their first week and they made good versus Sexy Red, it's like real musicians went out and failed, and content
prevailed.
It's
content is day and time. That just it is what it is.
It bothers me.
Lone, there are a lot of people. I know we don't care about you know the line, but you said something right there when you said, because there's a section of people that won't understand what you just said about content creators being successful in music versus artists. There are definitely two different things. I've had this conversation before. Nah, man, they're musicians. No, they're not. They're not musicians. These are not musicians, bro.
Yeah, it's almost
they're not even artists.
It's disrespectful.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
it's disrespectful to artists to call people that are moonlighting as artists to make money.
He said it.
It's disrespectful to I can entertain it to an extent, but then after a while, it's just like.
You got to call it what it is. Just call it what it is. Like, just call it what it is. These are not artists. They're not musicians. The word musician is criminally used wrong everywhere. Because a lot of these people are not musicians.
Everybody in the entertainment business aren't artists. Everybody that acts aren't really
actors,
if you will. Or you know what I'm saying? They didn't study at Juilliard. They haven't taken the steps.
Everybody ain't Denzel.
They're good at memorizing a script and following the script.
Yeah,
but they're not necessarily considered like a great, essentially. And we're just in a day and age and time right now where, like you said, content. That's pretty much what we were getting at. If it makes it on one of these social media platforms, that's all that matters. That's the bottom line is making it on social media, and your content being seen in front of people, and pretty much grasping the status quo of what's popular right now. That's why Meg is still flourishing, because she's still been in people's faces without even dropping music. She's, like we said, she had the documentary. Kamala just put her on there.
You know, there are people who would rather be famous than be rich.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think right now we have people who not only would rather be famous than be rich, but they'd rather be famous than be great. You know, I mean, so it doesn't even really bother them. They'd rather
be famous and broke.
Yeah, it doesn't really bother them to put out music that they know nobody's going to care about in a year and a half or two. Because
they're not artists.
They're not artists.
It goes back to that.
It's just like Erykah Badu said, you know, I'm an artist. I'm sensitive about my, you know what I'm saying? Like, some of these people will be like, I don't care. I'm on TV.
Look, I think it's I don't have a problem with people that are creating art and their art sucks, but at least they're trying. Like,
I'll take that.
Because I feel like that's just a path, and eventually that's why I look Lil Yachty, right? His early stuff, all right, cool. It was whatever. He was young. He was doing whatever he's doing. Then he dropped that album where he was trying a whole bunch of interesting stuff on. I can at least appreciate that for what it is and the things that he was attempting to do. He was progressing in that manner. But like some of these people, I don't even think they don't care. And I feel like they're obvious about the fact that they don't care.
That's why they don't know the words of their songs.
But you got to remember,
they don't care that much even learn the words of their songs.
To Lone's point, though, I think you hit the nail on the head. We are actually in a time in the world where you can become famous on social media. And I don't even care if music is your intention. It may not have been. If you go viral on social media, there are like 7 doors to entertainment that will open up just because you popular. You can be like, I want to be a rapper. I might be a content creator on Instagram. I might want to do this. I might want to be
podcast.
I can start a podcast. I might want to do a TV show.
More money than the musicians.
Thank you.
Bad Baby has streamed more records than anybody at this table.
60-something million off OnlyFans.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, yes.
That's a whole nother platform.
Once again,
that's not even talking about.
But once again, this is
she's got rap records out.
Yeah, exactly. She got rap records with Meg out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, look. Once again, it's literally the difference between wanting to be famous and wanting to be great, or even wanting to be respected.
Lone is right.
Yeah, for some people, respect is overrated in their book because they'd rather have the fame.
Lone is 100% right, and you're correct on what you said. I think we all have made very valid points, but nobody cares about. It's not about I'm going to put this out and it's going to be good. I'm going to put this out and then I'm going to see what I can get from it. Yeah. That's it.
It's the approach.
They don't care.
It's literally it.
End of the day, nobody cares about selling albums right now. Yeah. We're the only generation left that cares about selling albums.
But I think you're right, man. I think you're right.
When we talk, we looked up that Little Brother stat.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, that says a lot for them to start at 18, because usually you start at whatever you start at, the next week you cut that in half, and next week you cut that in half.
Right.
So for them to even get to 100,000 is impressive.
But that makes me respect Lil Brother so much more.
Also, you got to look at it like this. Fonte just put out some music this morning, and there are people who are checking for it.
Lone said the wax sold out.
20 years later. We're talking about basically 20 years later, And so
the 18,000 in Deterrum.
So
clearly kept going.
Clearly.
What exactly? And so when you're talking about these record sales now and what people are, you understand this is going to be the peak for them.
Yeah.
And in 20 years, people aren't going to be like, oh man, let me get that anniversary Ice Spice Y2K record.
To your point, we saw it live at Made in Durham.
Yeah.
We saw it live.
Yeah.
We saw it live.
You guys got on the road,
Man.
Yeah.
spent gas money and ticket money.
Airbnb bread, all of that.
We even brought the big ass
Brought the
poster.
banner home. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, the anniversary about to come up. We need to take a picture with that mug again. So
That banner is huge, by the way.
yeah,
You know.
we folded it up on some.
But yeah,
well,
like I think even but to the point, like Fonte just dropped his Pacific Part
Pacific
2.
Time,
yeah.
Pacific Time Part 2.
I think
I think he's got 4 records on it. But he dropped, it was an orange vinyl and a black vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
I know the black vinyl had 200 pieces total. I got one before it sold out. But that's only, but that's only like 400, maybe 400 pieces.
Yes.
But at how much?
Yeah, but I guess my thing is like, even him, like he's okay with a limited run copy of this.
and it's going to sell out.
Yeah. He doesn't care
you
about
know
his
it's
spot
gonna
on
sell out.
Billboard. He
You
doesn't
know-
care
you
about
know
it.
Terry
it's gonna
said
sell out, and then people even nowadays, like I mentioned earlier, they don't drop a physical copy.
True.
So they'll do a pre-order. So they'll only press up what was pre-ordered.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only going to press up what people pre-ordered. Then I'm not sitting on anything.
That's
Right.
actually smart.
Yeah.
Very smart. Very
now
smart.
everything that I made off of this is profit at the end of the day.
Yeah.
No
because I'm
surplus.
not putting any money up front. You may not get your copy for 2 months
That's how
because
it
I'm
is.
waiting
Yeah.
for everybody to buy it. And then, okay, I shut the sales down. And now I'm going to ship out everything that I sold.
Yeah.
But you know you got one, and it's on the way.
That's all that matters.
And
People aren't concerned with selling that physical copy.
And that's
it's
what-
novelty at this point.
Yeah.
Facts. And I think what Lone said, or no, Jay Moore said, talking about, we talking about artists, these content creators. I would take a guess to say, a good guess to say, there won't be a commemorative Ice Spice vinyl.
No, because it
'cause
falls into the whole thing. Everything that we talk about, we've talked about it in some way, shape, or form before.
Right.
It's part of the thing that we talked about. It's moment music.
Moment music.
So it's
yeah.
good for now. It works for now. And later it'll be, they might pick 1 or 2 songs from Ice Spice 20 years from now at somebody's kid's class reunion.
Yeah, be on Jock Jams or
You know what I'm
something.
saying?
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, nothing more, nothing less. We got to
believe
leave it at that. Like 28, their whole thing is to get in, get the money, get out.
Yeah.
I haven't lost anything.
Stay as long as you can.
Yeah, that's it.
You know,
And
it's
you
like
know-
that house guest that won't leave.
100%. We've alluded to. I've said it 5 times. I feel like, which speaks to Ice Spice. I'm like, man, that 15 minutes keeps stretching out.
Well, I mean,
The mug
she's-
keeps
I
stretching
mean,
out. It keeps stretching out.
Hawk Tour Girl is a 15-minute example.
Yeah.
Ice Spice, I wouldn't
You wouldn't
consider
put 15
her,
on
I
her
wouldn't
like that?
consider her a 15 minutes.
Maybe she get an hour.
She
A little bit
like
more.
that.
She
I
is
like that.
she's just extended her 15 minutes. That's
I
all.
think she's extended it.
And I
Yeah.
feel like the Haley Welch, which is call her by her name, Haley Welch has also extended her 15 minutes as well, just by being kind of interesting and doing
Hers
things.
ain't gonna last too
But
long, no.
maybe not. I don't know. She's getting ready to fight for $100,000 to somebody else. You know, like
You know what, Lone? You right.
and
Let me
it's
stop.
like it's one of those things where it's about attention. It's not about any particular type of specific talent. We're not talking about artistry.
Right.
It's
You're right.
about attention.
Let-
and that's like usually I'm just like let people do whatever they're going to do. But like when you cross like they're not musicians.
No, I'm vouching for her. I'm backing
She's
you
not
on
a
that
musician,
100%. She's not.
And I got a lot of flack when I said Sexy Red wasn't an artist.
She's not.
Like
Nope. She's not.
about a year ago. And it's just the truth. It's
local
just
beef
the truth.
It's local beef with her and Kitty Red.
I saw
right
that.
now. Yeah.
Something about who's stealing
Red.
whose song? Was Kitty Red stealing a song or was Sexy
No,
Red?
Sexy Red. They're saying,
Yeah.
Kitty Red is saying that
Allegedly.
Sexy Red is allegedly stealing her ideas from the past and
Midwest beef.
bringing them back to. I don't know.
Look at Jay.
I mean, are they really?
We know who Jay Moore gonna ride for.
I just wish Kitty Red, like somebody would get in there and mix her songs better. They sound really muddy and terrible on the good speakers.
Well, they're gonna call you a hater,
I know
buddy.
some people that can do that for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks to our partners. Dr. Coleman of Coleman Dental is our go-to dentist. He's a longtime Indianapolis arts and music supporter located right in Broad Ripple. Printfinity is a screen printing shop based in Indianapolis, owned and operated by our own DJ Jay Diff. Our good friends at Indie CD and Vinyl operate one of the best record stores in North America. Shop new and used in their site or visit them in person. And the best way to support the New Old Heads is to visit our Patreon and become a member for as little as $3 a month. All details on newoldheads.com.
We are
What type of noise was that? Shout out to the partners. We appreciate the support as always. We want to continue to grow those relationships as we have, as we approach our 400th. Did I say it right? 400th episode.
Next week.
Yeah, man. So
We got some surprises
I
for
heard
next week.
I heard it might even be some chicken in the building. I don't know. That's what I heard.
Is that what you was looking forward to?
We might. It might be some chicken in the building. I don't know. With biscuits this time though. So LL is talking about. He's in the interview. The discussion was talking about rappers that only talk about one thing. Money was the topic. Lone is laughing at this picture. So LL was being
That's wild. Nah, we ain't gonna do him.
Hey, that is wild though.
We ain't gonna do him like that.
There we go.
There we go. All right. So LL's in the interview. He's being interviewed, and he's talking about great artists and what they didn't have to do to be great. I thought the soundbite was very cool. I want y'all to listen to it. Ignore the picture.
Oh no, we can't ignore the picture.
And then we'll discuss after that.
All right, here we go.
12 years later, he's still talking that money talk. Now you're looking at it like, dude, do you have anything else to talk about? Like, my God, please, bro. Like, yo,
I appreciate
like,
that.
did anything happen recently that you care about a little bit? So so that's what we got to remember. Because you know what? All of us sitting here, we different generations, but I bet you know Bob Marley.
Sure do.
You goddamn right you do.
Sure do. I just watched this movie on the plane last
You know,
week.
you see that?
Amazing movie.
And you know why you because he talked about something.
Yeah.
Because he had something to say. And guess what?
Love, freedom.
Yeah, and you don't care what Bob Marley had in the bank.
Facts.
He might have died with $500,000. Do you care?
No.
Because that's not the metric for success. It is the metric for financial success, but it's not the metric for cultural success.
What do y'all think about that? The way he used Bob Marley as an example. The money argument, we've heard people make that argument, man. All he talk about is money, or it's money, money, money. But he makes a very good point as it relates to how Bob Marley transcended generations, and nobody cares about that. It was about the content, it was about what he stood for, and it was about the quality of the music. That supersedes, I guess, talking about money and just being a money artist all the time. When I saw him, when he initially started talking about the bread piece, I was like, okay, we've heard this before. But when he started talking about the greats, I started thinking about greats, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't care. None of that mattered, because the music and what they stood for was just superseded everything else.
It's never mattered to me. Why does money, how much somebody makes,
Well,
matter?
because
He's talking about the subject matter in terms of people rapping about the same thing over time and not evolving. Like, you just rap about money every single time, and
They're literally appeasing their audience.
okay.
There's people that are still buying it, that are actively listening to it,
Okay.
that don't care that they keep rapping about the same thing. They actually want to keep hearing them rap about the same thing. They don't listen the same way we listen. And that's sometimes we have to realize that, because like a couple weeks ago we talked about grown man hip hop, or
Oh yeah, with
or
Knife
what was
Wonder.
it, the genre he was talking about, the
Adult contemporary,
adult
something.
contemporary.
Yeah.
Some people do not care about their artists evolving because they're not evolving. This is literally what gets them through. To hear the same thing over and over and over and over. To us, it's like, I'm tired of you talking about the same thing. Even artists that talk about different things still talk about the same thing. Like LL is notorious for talking about his love for women, and
Panthers.
I hate him. I hate
that was a
him.
one situation thing. But
I hate him. Oh my God. I hate him.
he got on the track with Rick Ross and
Fat Joe.
Fat Joe. I mean, it was somewhat centered around money for the most part, but I mean, that wasn't the whole thing.
Nah, that
It
record
was a
wasn't about
concept.
money.
It was a concept record.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
video, though, the video is me in front of a luxury car,
Yeah.
which is a symbol of money. LL was notorious for wearing a big, nice necklace with a troop outfit. I mean, you had to have money to have a troop outfit and a big necklace.
That was
like
the one, the video with the big pants,
though.
right?
Right, he evolved though.
What do you think about the second part where he talks about the true legends and how they, I guess, had their approach to things may have evolved, or they didn't rap about things that were superficial and were more potent in terms of things that they talked about, which may have gone to or went towards them being great. Because the Bob Marley reference to me was perfect.
It's perfect, but we literally just talked about the nature of music right now.
Right.
So Bob Marley came in at a time where me writing songs about the political nature of what's going on where I'm from, and things happening around the world was in then. Now people don't care about that so much. They care about, like, and I'm bringing it up again, we've talked about it during the show, they care about the vibe. They care about the vibe and what relates to them, because they can tune out the stuff that they don't want to hear. It's a lot easier to tune out the noise you don't want to hear nowadays than it was back then, because there's a lot more going on that's being fed to you day to day. Back then, all you seen was what was on TV or who was playing a basketball game here and there, or what was going on in your city.
Newspaper.
Yeah, newspaper.
I like that. I like
CNN, NBC, whatever was popping then.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have had 20 channels at the most back then. Now you have multiple TV channels. You have multiple YouTube channels. You have multiple factors where you can go watch and consume whatever you want to consume. I don't have to pay attention to politics if I don't want to right now, because I'm not interested in it, because I could be interested in something else.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
I'm mad at that.
I think the thing that stood out to me in that particular statement, and it harkens back to what we just talked about, is the difference between people being financially successful and culturally successful. You know, little brother is culturally successful.
True.
Especially if you're within our circle of people who have an appreciation for hip hop and just music in general. You know, but sometimes people will make an argument when you talk to them about those who are culturally successful, and they'll bring up and say, yeah, but he doesn't have what so-and-so has.
Right.
And they think that is a valid argument when you're trying to talk about cultural success. And it's not. There are rappers that had huge hits that just don't have the cultural cachet that people who even, let's even take a song like, you know, OC, Time's Up. You know, that's a song that you still hear in pockets. You might hear
I know as soon as it come on.
You might hear in a video game soundtrack. It might be in a movie. And these are things that have never stopped, you know, making their way through the culture, even if you just hear them subconsciously and you're not thinking, oh, but that was, you know, and nothing against Skilo, who had, you know, I Wish, which was a big record at the time, a record I still like.
I like it too.
I bought the single when it came out.
But, you know, like, you know,
Maja back in the day.
as somebody, you know, who listened to everything, even I can't tell you Skilo's second song. And I'm one of those people I could always give you what the second single that didn't work was.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, so I think there's just so many factors into how we measure the success of an artist or measure the success of art. And I think it's unfair to some people in the beginning process of it, because you look at it and be like, that was a failure. That wasn't it. But then we come back 20 years later and we're still talking about that artist. We're still supporting that artist. You know, I don't know if maybe Skilo's put out other music. And like I said, I'm not trying to harp on Skilo.
I see what you're going.
It's just the exact example I'm using. But like, you know, if Skilo does a random midnight release on a Monday, are people really going to be like, oh yeah, I gotta buy the physical vinyl that he puts out?
Well, nobody's going to at this point. But
I think that's more, real quick, I think that's more so one-hit wonder type people, though. I think LL Cool J is more so talking about people that continue to keep putting out the same thing over and over and over and over.
That aren't one-hit wonders.
Who had success with their formula, and they continue to harp on that same thing. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. Drake is one of those people. He had success with a formula and he keeps on doing the same thing, but it works for him.
Yeah. I would have liked if LL put a name on that bullet. Tell me who you're talking about, LL.
I have a question for y'all. The second part of the question. Terry was talking about artists that do something that works, right? And this works for them. And I think LL was alluding to artists that were of a bigger status that may just talk about the bread. The question is, when he talks about the all-time greats and he alludes to the elites and the legendary status people, is there an example of someone that is an all-time great artist that does not have cultural currency? Stevie Wonder got cultural currency.
We talking hip hop or what?
That's a different genre.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing names out there, because to me, Jay-Z done rapped about a lot of stuff, but he's got cultural currency as well.
I don't even know what that means.
When I say cultural currency, he talked about impact. The last part of his statement was he talked about the culture versus just the finance. Like what you think about when you look at the artist, it's like, it's not about how much bread they got. It's about what they've done and how they're looked at as in the culture. That's the way I see it.
It's hard because once again, hip hop is so young as far as when it started really getting to the money.
Okay.
So anybody who really got to the money, it's hard not to say they had, like, I give the example of one-hit wonders, but if you're talking about somebody that's released several albums But I feel like there's a difference between Jeezy and Young Jeezy.
Oh, okay.
You know, as far as like the content is concerned, especially when you talk about the recession and the recession too. Like he stepped out of just being the dope boy who rapped and just was in the street and really talked about his place in this world. Like I know a lot of people, you know, they checked, and some people checked out on Jeezy after he wasn't wearing the snowman shirts anymore.
And that's why here lately, Snowman back. It's like I'm going to rewind back and give you exactly what you want because I swayed a little bit.
Just like what Eminem
my
did.
Eminem is a perfect example as well.
I like that.
My core audience wants this, and this is what I'm going to give them because they're still going to eat it up. Eminem is the perfect example of somebody that's going to keep catering to his core audience regardless, because we're still going to listen to it just to listen to it, but they're going to keep listening to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, look, if Jay-Z
that.
decided to give us Volume 4,
who's going to be mad?
not
I'm
me.
not.
Me.
I'm not.
So, I mean, I love LL Cool J's point of view, but at the same time, again, what I've probably said the past 3 weeks that we talked about LL Cool J, he has a rollout.
Yeah,
He has to talk about it. And he also hasn't dropped anything in forever. So you can harp on people that have dropped stuff and talked about the same thing, but you kind of took a backseat role and didn't do anything musically. And now you have a rollout and you got a lot to say. I respect that, but at the same time, you got to show and prove first. That's why I really don't want to talk about what LL Cool J has to say until after
that album
he drops the album.
project.
That album come out.
Yeah.
All right.
That's gonna
fair.
put it in perspective for me. I don't know about y'all, but for me, that'll put it in perspective. If he drops an album, the singles have been pretty good, but if that whole thing that he drops is solid and stands on what he's been talking about, then I can jump for it at that point in time.
I don't know. I don't fully. I think that his points can still be valid even if his music sucks. I think it just means that
It takes some credibility away from him, though.
maybe a little bit, but I feel like you can still speak on stuff even if it's relevant to you. You know what I mean? Like you can be like, man, I hate these people. He can be a little bit of a hypocrite,
which he might turn out. He might turn out to be.
Like,
maybe,
yeah,
you know.
he made a valid point, even though his the rest of the album wasn't no good.
Yeah, you make a great point. Hey, are you talking about yourself?
Yeah, you wanted to get on here and talk about pink cookies in a plastic bag. It's different than what you were talking about before, but I don't like it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not mad at that. That's a good point, brother. That's a good point. All right. No more Uncle L, man. We're going to wait till
Wait till the album comes out.
We're going to wait till the album come out. I ain't going to say if because I think he's...
Sorry.
LL got a lot of spin on the new old heads. I will say that.
I'm
not mad at it 'cause
he a whole legend, though.
Go ahead and
bro.
share some of this, L.
Yeah, come on, L.
Come on, man. We actually
Quit being a hater.
Yeah.
unblock Jay Moore.
Block me on Twitter or X or whatever. I don't know what I did, fam, but you know.
Yeah. We shooting you a lot of bail, OG. Like, unblock Jay Moore.
Or I'm going to keep sharing this blue hat picture.
Damn. Go ahead and show it. Bro.
Yeah.
Why you zoom in, though? Like, stop zooming in.
No, stop that. Stop that.
Oh,
Stop
smooth face ass LL.
I could just hear his corny laugh in the background when you zoom in like that.
I just pictured the I'm that type of guy video.
Wow. So, I don't know I don't know what a blue check means anymore. Maybe everybody can get them at this point on.
You just pay for them.
And
Like
she can pretty
everything
much pay
else.
for a blue check.
Yeah.
But I did research on the back end, and I guess this gentleman is it said content creator / something, so he's one of those. But he had a tweet that said, and this was in response to a tweet from Lil Yachty. It says Lil Yachty reveals that he just listened to Jay-Z's Black album a few days ago, first time. He said young rappers don't listen to classic rap and young hoopers don't watch basketball.
We had the conversation before about when he first listened to Notorious Big. Did the same thing with the Jay-Z records. He listened to it, talked about how lyrically good Jay-Z was from listening to those records. But honestly, this is the same thing that's true in music, period. There's records that came out that your parents may have really liked or were fans of that you didn't listen to until later in life anyway. We got to realize how young Lil Yachty is.
Isn't he mid-20s?
Yeah.
Late 20s probably at this point. I guess my question was going to be, why do people always say this is a requirement? Maybe in sports, I can see it as an athlete watching older film and, trying to see the greats. I used to, you study the greats. I could kind of see that. But in music, I don't know why people say this is a requirement other than
not.
just paying homage? Because a lot of people were saying, yeah, man, people, they just don't understand the old school. They don't respect it. They don't go back and watch the elders and Herc and all the rest of these guys. I'm like, I mean, I can respect them, but I never studied them.
I'm going to stop you right there. Have you ever listened to a Furious 5 album?
No.
Have you ever listened?
I respect them.
You respect them, but you've never listened to one of their albums.
No.
Because do you want to?
Why would I do that?
But see, that's my point. That was going to be my question is why do people think this is a requirement?
No, that's what I'm saying
for young artists.
That's why I'm saying that, because we talk about greats in hip hop. I can tell you a gang of albums that I've never heard, and I can't really speak on them being great other than their influence off of a couple songs that
that makes you know less hip hop than you are.
It doesn't.
That's my point.
But the way
unless you're white.
Well, you might have to do a little more research.
he got an extra couple courses, credit hours. You're right.
You might have to do a little more research.
Yeah, they're gonna try to play him in the comments. Go ahead, bro.
There's albums literally that are considered classic hip hop albums that I've never heard, and do I care to hear them? I can't say that I do.
You're being honest.
I am. I'm being very honest. I can't say that I care about hearing those albums. Now, if you talk about, I'm the type of person if you've never heard, I have certain albums in my mind. If you're from a certain generation, if you never heard this album, I might feel a certain type of way. One of them is Boogie Down Productions. What's the name of the album?
Not Criminal Minded, but
Criminal Minded.
Criminal Minded.
If you haven't made yourself familiar with that album, you don't have to like everything on it. But at the time and place where that came out, that's one of the albums. A couple Public Enemy albums.
Takes a Nation.
LL albums. Things like that. But when we're talking about people that we consider forefathers of hip hop, I've never heard some of those releases, and I honestly don't care to. For him to reach back, Jay-Z obviously still makes music. So it kind of would make sense in that way. Form that I'm gonna check out this Jay-Z album that I've never listened to, because he has classic albums though. A lot of the albums that we're talking about from forefathers,
they got records. They got a couple
records, but they don't have classic albums. They don't have classic material other than those songs that, you know what I'm saying?
No, that's
structure hip hop.
That's the angle I was coming from. Is I don't like I don't like that people force that. Because it's to Terry's point, I'm a hypocrite if I say all the young dudes got to listen to everything and go back and know where you come from. Do your knowledge, do your research. But I'm capping if I say I've heard all the Slick Rick albums. Love Slick Rick. I ain't heard all
who the artists are. You're familiar with this artist. 100%. You know a couple songs.
Yeah, but that requirement just to say, you know, you have to go back and listen to all the music. I don't buy into that.
Well, I'll play white devil's advocate for you real quick.
Okay.
You know, when there are rock artists, and I don't even know who's like the pop and rock artist right now, you know, at least, you know, if you asked, you know, say if there's some contemporary rock artist and they ask them about the Rolling Stones, or you ask them about the Doors, or even if you ask them about Bon Jovi or Pearl Jam, if they didn't know it, they'd at least have the good sense to pretend or not say, I don't know who that is. That's old. Like,
there's the major difference though.
I get it.
Speak on the difference, Long.
Those were like cultural icons across an entire nation of rock music. Like even when we talk like Melly Mel, like if you're within, like people within hip hop know Melly Mel
for sure.
For the message.
Yes.
You know,
for sure.
But everybody knows who the Beatles are. Everybody knows who the Rolling Stones are.
He got me there.
Like,
he got me there.
Even the Doors. I don't know a lot of people that don't know who the Doors are. Like, that would be more obscure.
They have a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
More obscure, but like,
I do know who the Doors are.
It's like rock music was. It was like pop culture, like almost immediate. It feels like, whereas hip hop, it took a while to get there.
You're right. It was still a subculture.
Like
well, you know, when I think until Run DMC came along, we're talking very much a subculture.
Right.
Now, if you say, now I would, and there's going to be some old heads who older than us who would feel some kind of way about this, but if you told me you didn't know who Melly Mel was, I get it. Or you can't associate him with anything other than the message. I get it. But like if you got to Run DMC,
Yeah.
and you said you can't associate them with anything, that's going to be a little bit harder for me to swallow.
It's a little different.
I think, I agree.
Because that's
I
when,
agree.
okay, this is when we hit Rolling Stone. This is when we hit MTV. Like, this is, if it weren't for them, you wouldn't be here.
So if somebody tells you, if somebody says that is of age, we'll say, just to be fair, balanced. They're like, yeah, man, I ain't never heard. I don't know nothing about Rakim. I'm gonna be like, what?
It literally depends on what generation you're from. So
That's what I'm trying to qualify.
Even to the whole rock and roll argument. So we stated all of these rock and roll artists and bands that are top tier when it comes to rock and roll.
Yeah.
If you ask somebody about the Ramones, some people consider them top tier when it comes to rock and roll.
I don't know a Nan Ramone song.
Exactly. And you can't,
and I grew up on rock and roll.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the entry level to punk type stuff.
Yeah.
So if you don't know who that is, then okay, who cares?
But they're not the Beatles, though.
But the Beatles are the pop side of things when it comes to rock and roll.
I don't know.
Versus the Ramones are the more obscure.
Go ahead, Lon.
But you don't care.
The equivalent to the Beatles in hip hop is like Snoop Dogg. Like
It's got to be somebody like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's got to be somebody like that. Yeah.
Like, even if you didn't care for the music, you know who they are.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows who Snoop Dogg is, and they may not be able to tell you one song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, Melly Mel, or what's the guy that Spools loves from Philly?
Schoolie D.
Schoolie D's like the Electric Light Orchestra or something. You know what I mean? It's just like this random.
Oh, you just stunning right there. You stunning with your knowledge right there.
I'm just saying, like, it's one of those type of things. My thing is like, people move through life at different paces.
Right.
And if you're a school of something and you love something, then you're going to get to it eventually. It's not like hip hop culture is something that you can sit down and just learn in a year.
Yeah, you don't get a manual to tell you.
There's no curriculum to figure this stuff out unless you're taking classes. And even still, you're not going to learn everything. So
that's true.
I think there's a little bit more of a shock value when a hip hop artist says, "Oh, I've never listened to another hip hop artist album," and it's somebody like Jay-Z, who you can consider as a Led Zeppelin of whatever, you know what I mean? So I get it, but at the same time, like, we all move at our own pace.
Yeah,
there are artists from past eras that I eventually would want to listen to. It's just like, sometimes I just don't feel like sitting down and listen to some old that I know I'm not going to enjoy.
I'm gonna give you an example. I literally listened to the Beach Boys album because Jay Moore said that it was one of his favorite albums coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to it with my new ears, and I'm not gonna have that same reaction because I didn't listen to it back then.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Now, mind you, even when I discovered Pet Sounds, I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just open. It was just like when I was trying to listen to a little bit of everything, and I was like, why do they keep talking about this album? And then I'm like, I'm listening to, because I'm thinking the Beach Boys is, the corny, like, surfer music.
Yeah.
And Pet Sounds is not that.
No, it was literally that album was, to me, literally the songs that I liked were songs that I recognized from hearing it somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they're an iconic group, and I literally just listened to that. And I like to say that I'm well versed as far as music is concerned.
We are.
I can't just say that.
But there's a lot of music, man.
I can't say that I just listen to hip hop music. Is not even the thing that I listen to the most nowadays. But in the same token, this is an iconic group that I've never listened to that album, and it's listed on a lot of people's top albums of all time. Yeah. So I can't be mad at somebody that's 20-some years old. You got to realize that Reasonable Doubt probably came out 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
it's
27.
It's almost 30.
Coming
almost
up on 30. Yeah.
Came
okay,
out in 96.
So he might have been just born, or maybe a couple years removed. Maybe he wasn't. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so
it makes sense that he hasn't heard this album.
The only and I treat this as myself too. For myself, like, the only way that I would be upset at somebody not knowing something is if they are speaking from a point of absolution of knowledge to some degree about something, but they don't know it. Like, if Yachty's over here talking about, like, man, none of Jay-Z's past work is as good as any of this over here, but he's never listened to it, or he doesn't know what it's about. To me, that's the only way that this is argument even like to get upset at people like that even exists. It's like when somebody comes in the comments and they're like, Andre 3000 isn't one of the greatest ever, and they're 12.
Yeah.
It's like,
you're not going to think that.
why are you talking?
I mean,
We don't even take that serious.
I mean, you got to look at it like this. You know, it'd be like, you know, just think about when we were outside and we were of varying ages, but still close to in age. If somebody came to me, well, I'm listening to Only Built for Cuban Links in my dorm room in 1995 and says, you don't know you ain't, have you ever listened to Chubby Checker or the Ink Spots? That's exactly what we sound like trying to tell somebody listening to listen to Liquid Swords or Only Built for Cuban Links. And I know that sounds crazy as a point of reference, but that's how long ago it was.
No, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. Just like when I've brought this up before, I started listening to Parliament Funkadelic because I was listening to Snoop and Dre and them. This is what they were using to sample. That's what introduced me to Parliament Funkadelic, which was before my time, essentially, and I appreciated it at that moment.
Right.
There's no rule book telling you that in order for you to rap or be in this profession, you have to listen to these albums and you have to be versed in these albums.
True.
His whole style, obviously, he didn't come up listening to Jay-Z or Biggie.
And he has
He's got a broccoli song,
and he has no memories or points of reference. Like, you know, if you were outside when those songs were playing, you might have been driving your first little car, had your first sound system, or you was getting somebody's daughter to do something to you for the first time. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where a lot of our affection for this music comes from, you know? And so he has none of those memories that associate with this music.
People have to realize that these newer artists, everybody's not a Joey Badass. Everybody's not a Corday. Everybody's not versed like that. And that's okay. I mean, obviously that doesn't make that artist or break that artist. For him to listen to it and appreciate it at this point in time, that should be the end of the conversation.
It makes me respect that artist more.
Yeah.
But that's really about it.
That's
you know
it.
what I mean?
I listen. At the end of the day, I'm pro, like Fred Joe Star said, I'm pro doing your Googles. Do your Googles, understand what preceded you. But I'm not about to just bang the gavel if you haven't listened to.
Who cares?
Yeah,
man?
like I don't subscribe to that part. So
You have your own influences.
yeah, I'm not vouching for that.
Which goes back to my original comment, which who cares?
Yeah.
okay.
We have to realize our age.
Yeah.
Although you might feel like you're still this young, strapping young man walking around here listening with your Walkman on with anti-skip on. We're in a whole different era, man. People listen and consume things different.
That's true.
And him listening to it shouldn't be a story as big as it is.
No, shouldn't.
But it is what it is, man.
I'm with you, bro. I just, I didn't think that's the route I was going. Like, why is this? Because that is, as you get older, like our age, especially even people that are older than us, you hear that a lot. Man, you're not doing the knowledge. You're not doing the homework. And I think they get it confused with doing the knowledge of hip hop versus going back to listen to records.
Like there's a lot of people that never heard about You're Supposed to Listen. What is that album you're supposed to listen to while watching The Wizard of Oz?
Dark Side of the Moon?
Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, the Pink Floyd. Right?
Yeah.
People have never heard that you're supposed to listen to this Pink Floyd album and watch The Wizard of Oz and everything will match up perfectly. You know what I'm saying? This is...
I tried to do that in college.
Yeah, this is beyond their realm.
I should have been going. I should have been in class.
Of it.
No.
Yeah.
And Pink Floyd is another group that people will be like, I might not have ever listened to a Pink Floyd album.
Yeah.
Are you in there?
All right, man. NewOldEds.com for all the education you need this year. If you see it, like it, subscribe to it, hit the bell, sign up for the notifications. Our Patreon is we have a $3 holla where you can get some cool stuff there as well. Well,
about to be
$5.
About to be $5 very soon.
Yeah,
So
the
get
price
in.
is going up. Get in while you can. And remember, if you see us on any platform where they allow you to do ratings, 5 stars, or you hating at this point because we know we rock. We know you rock with us, so we're not even worried about it. 5 stars. Throw a comment in there too. That actually helps us as well. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye!
Bye, bye, bye.
Girls like, bye, yeah.
Bye.
That's hilarious.